Everything that was broken has forgotten its brokenness. I live now in a sky house. Through every window, the sun, also your presence, our touching, our stories, earthy and holy both. How can this be? But it is. Every day has something in it whose name is forever. So, taking a comfortable seat. For such a short poem, I realized I had a lot to say. And just catching your breath with your hands in that pose of reception on your lap, just open. And then, like we do, just straightening the back just by a millimeter and lengthening the neck, the tiniest millimeter, just so that you feel this more controlled, erect pose of reception. Doesn't have to be dramatic. And then just softening the muscles of the face, starting with your face, with your forehead. Feeling it unfurl, putting your awareness in that space between your eyebrows. And then around the eyes. And the mouth and the jaw, the muscles of the jaw especially. And then the shoulders, just letting them fall. But keeping your back straight and keeping your neck lengthened. Maybe even raising your chin the tiniest bit. And then letting the shoulders fall again. Because the moment that we let go, that defendedness creeps in again. And then the neck, as best you can, letting down the defenses and softening the muscles of the neck. And then, as I say, opening the drawbridge of the heart, letting all the guards go home, and just seeing what will happen. and then down into the gut. Resisting the temptation to make that this steel support of all of the rest of you. The ultimate vulnerability. Let that be the soil where this tree of awareness emerges from. And it's known to be a fact that our thinking does, in some part, happen in the belly. Like a tree taking water from its roots up its trunk to the edges of its leaves. And your feet flat on the floor, your knees as best you can at a right angle. And then for the next few minutes, to just let that nice, easy conduit between the heart and the head be one organ, be the most alive organ of reception in you. Breathing in for 4 counts and just pausing at the top. And 5 counts out. Since it's Valentine's Day, I think of my funny Valentine. You make me smile with my heart, not with my mouth, not with my face, not with my eyes, but with my heart, which makes that smile just reach every cell in the body. What is it that makes you smile with your heart? Who is it? Or where is it? If we're lucky, we have many answers to that question. But just pinpoint one for a moment and really smile at that figure or that place with your heart. If you feel yourself slumping a little bit, straighten the back, lengthen the neck by a millimeter, soften the face and the shoulders. Everything that was broken by Mary Oliver. Everything that was broken has forgotten its brokenness. I live now in a sky house. Through every window, the sun. Also, your presence, our touching, our stories, earthy and holy both. How can this be? But it is. Every day has something in it whose name is forever. Thich Nhat Hanh says that in true love, there's no separation. Your happiness is the other person's happiness. Their happiness is your happiness. Even with great loves or with children, we might only feel that in flashes. But that remembrance is enough to know where the heart of true love is. It's going from brokenness to wholeness. And this poem, in its tiny form, is as powerful a message in that realm as any that Mary wrote. There's nothing innately romantic about the poem. It's not a love poem necessarily. There's our touching and our stories. There's something personal about it. And it is a late poem that comes out of Mary's happiness. The book is called Felicity. Toward the end of her life, with a new partner about 10 years after the death of Molly. There's something very personal about it. And for me, as I study Buddhism, I always bump up against this thing, Stoicism and Buddhism, which both suggest that we should let go of our preferences, our likes and dislikes, our wants and not wants, that these are in Buddhism called the kleshas. They're poisons. The things that we get attached to and run after, and the things that we are averse to and run away from. But it goes deeper too. The more that you can eliminate those likes and not likes, it's said the closer you get to realization, self-realization. So what place does love, does choosing a specific other have in that realm of thought? Does it even have a place in Buddhist practices? And I think it does. I think that what Thich Nhat Hanh is suggesting is that there is a kind of personal love that becomes a doorway for a love that we can share with the whole world. It's very similar to writing poems. If a poem is therapy just for me, then it's a terrible poem. It's just me releasing emotions onto the page. But if a poem is therapy for me and it has a way of reaching the rest of the world, then it can be a great poem. It, of course, has to do with me letting go of things or realizing things or dredging things up. But it's also speaking in a language that is understandable to the others out there. So true love, personal love, can be a doorway to the rest of the world, as it is here in this poem. And it can be like parables. It can be like stories. It can be like things that we would either jealously guard and say, this is mine and there's no other truth than this one. Or it can be things that lead us into that sky mine that she describes in the poem. Because look what happens. The poem goes from everything that was broken to a forgetting of the brokenness. And then this light coming through the windows of the sky house, the mind opening, the ceiling just blowing off, going from what's earthy and corruptible to something that's eternal and holy. And then at the end, releasing even the names of things which separate them and giving them all one name, which is forever. So this poem slowly opens its doors from the personal to the impersonal, from the personal to the impersonal. And how does she do this? How does she do it? It could be written on a sticky note, but there's so much in the poem for me. First of all, the line breaks. If you can look at the poem, you'll see that those line breaks are all broken up in weird ways. And you would think, oh, well, Mary has made some strange choices there. Why did she do that? But this is one case where these line breaks are very much attuned to what the poem is saying. If you look at the poem, it's like a broken pot. It's like a potsherd that you would find, in an excavation of Pompeii. And all of these broken edges are thickening the poem to a certain extent because they offer a hesitation in the voice, a feeling of doubt in the voice. So the look of the poem suggests hesitation and brokenness. But what's inside the poem is this hidden wholeness. And that's what gives the poem its richness. That's what makes it more than just a nice little sticky note with a truth on it. Something is happening in conversation between the form and the subject matter that's helping us to feel this poem at a deeper place. It's like that weight that takes the hook all the way down to the bottom of the lake. There's texture here and there's heft. Other thing about this is that it involves time and language. There's brokenness everywhere. But when we forget that brokenness, maybe even in flashes in our lives, time disappears. The name of everything is forever, and language disappears. The words that separate our world into sentences and vowels become one thing, this foreverness. And time, which separates our existence into hours and minutes and seconds, becomes one thing, foreverness. And the result then is that sky mind that she's talking about, and that Pema Chodron writes a lot about. The sky mind is that awareness that arises here that feels like those leaves sort of swaying in the wind, and your thoughts and emotions are moving through them. But you realize, like Walt Whitman, that you're not contained between your hat and your boots. And that's what happens when language and time are canceled out. So let's go back into the meditation, and I have a 3-part prayer that's related to this poem, because I think that the poem does move in 3 acts, if you want to say that. So getting back into that space. And here's the poem one more time. Everything that was broken has forgotten its brokenness. I live now in a sky house, through every window the sun. Also your presence, our touching, our stories, earthy and holy both. How can this be? But it is. Every day has something in it whose name is forever. The first part of this prayer is that I may forget my brokenness, just as an experiment, just for today. Just for today, can I forget my brokenness? This moment won't be broken between what has already happened and what might yet happen. Where we're living in 3 places at once most of the time. forget your brokenness, you first have to look deeply into it. Just take a moment to find it. What is locking you out of forever? What's separating the past and the future from this moment? What's keeping you from smiling from your heart? And then just taking the spotlight away from that and imagining the sky mind that she's talking about, this sky house that she lives in now. It helps to imagine the smallness of Earth in which these things are happening. So small that, like Michael Singer says, if we took a trip outside of the solar system and came back again, we'd have trouble finding Earth. Or maybe there's another story that helps you forget your brokenness. The story of Christ, a bigger brokenness that became a wholeness. Or Krishna, or Shams of Tabriz, Rumi's teacher. Or poetry itself. Or a beloved partner, or a grandchild, or a child. May I forget my brokenness. The second is, may I find in today something whose name is forever. And the only way to find forever, at least I think, is to look what passes through the corruptible surfaces of things or what holds them together for now. To me, math is forever. Math is holding all of this together. Buddha nature is forever. Richard Rohr talks about Christ consciousness. Light is forever. Energy is forever. You might look beyond the corruptible surface and see forever and just smile. Smile from your heart. Everything we look at, everything we think about, even our thoughts are made of forever. Even money is just congealed energy. All of these brokennesses and falling apart things are made of forever. Rumi says, forever is hidden in a moment. Be thirsty, heart. Seek forever without rest. Let this soundless longing hidden deep inside you be the source of every word you say. And then the third, may my mind be a sky house, through every window a sun. What would it really mean to turn your mind into a sky? It would have to mean to forget the container, to be uncontained, to not be contained between my hat and my boots. To look deeply into what curtains the mind, what Blake calls the mind-forged manacles that hold us back. May I forget my brokenness. May I find something today whose name is forever. May my mind be a sky house. Just getting back into that posture of reception, straightening the back, softening the shoulders, letting them fall around that conduit. Putting your awareness at the center of your forehead. Just going for it, just going for it, smiling from the heart. And then enjoying those breaths. My copy of Felicity, Mary wrote, "Dear brother, come soon. Don't shave." She liked it when I pressed my whiskers against her face. I forgot she wrote this. "We will probably hug a lot. Love, your sister." Everything that was broken. Everything that was broken has forgotten its brokenness. I live now in a sky house. Through every window, the sun. Also your presence. Our touching, our stories, earthy and holy both. How can this be? But it is. Every day has something in it whose name is forever. Thank you, everyone.